This might be the weirdest paper I've ever used, and in fact, I'm not totally sure it classifies as paper. I'm talking about Yupo Medium. Hey everyone, it's Madam Berry. Today I'm going to do a first impressions of this Yupo Medium by Legion Paper Company. So Yupo Paper says on the front of their package, a true innovation in fine art substrates, this synthetic tree-free paper is everlasting and non-absorbent. It resists buckling with wet media and can be wiped clean. Pigments will retain their true clarity and brightness. A new way for techniques to flourish, this is Yupo Medium. It's a 100% polypropylene paper-like medium that's meant to be used with anything from alcohol inks to acrylics to even watercolors they say are able to be used on this paper. They say you can also wipe it clean between uses, so potentially this paper can be reusable. Now, I've never used anything like this before, so this is going to be a really strange experiment. And I don't have alcohol inks, however I do have some Copic markers which have alcohol ink in them. I'm just not going to be able to apply them in liquid form. Wait, I have the various ink refills. Is that a waste? Is that a waste of a Copic ink refill to just squirt it on paper? I wanted to test this paper out with a wide variety of materials. I did a bunch of swatches with items from Copic markers to acrylic inks and my P.H. Martin's Bombay inks to watercolors to even some acrylic wash that I had. I also wanted to test that ability to be wiped clean. So of course I grabbed some water and I also grabbed some isopropyl alcohol because I figured the alcohol inks probably weren't going to be wiped clean with water, so I wanted to try to wipe a bunch of this material off. And it takes some scrubbing, but you actually can wipe this paper almost completely clean. The only thing that stained was the alcohol ink. So if you wanted to use this paper for like ink sketches or something like that, you could potentially have it work almost like a dry erase board. I'm not sure how well the paper would hold up over time, but given that it's essentially plastic, it's not going to pill and disintegrate the way paper does, the way like normal paper does, when it's subjected to many strong, harsh washes of water. But I don't imagine all of that friction over time will be good for the Yupo paper if you're wiping it clean and then drawing on it and then wiping it clean again a bunch. I also tested out one of my nib pens, dip pens, whatever you call these things, the things that you dip into ink. I'm really not good at these things, but I wanted to see if they would draw on the paper, and y'all, it's so smooth. I think I might have found a favorite ink medium. The finish on Yupo Medium is very interesting. I would describe it as like an eggshell finish. It's not glossy by any means, but it's not quite matte. It's closer to matte than it is to satin, but it's not quite matte either. It's very smooth. It has very little texture, but it has just enough tooth that you can sketch on it with pencil or something. By the way, I don't recommend that. It smudges to heck. It's possible to do a light sketch with pencil, but I would not use this as like a graphite illustration board by any means. Even my Prismacolor Color Erase pencils smudge pretty bad on this. So for the illustration that I'm working on right now, I did a very, very light sketch with my Color Erase pencil and tried desperately not to smudge it. You can see I used tissue paper to put under my hand so that the oils from my hand wouldn't smudge the pencil as I was painting on top of it. For the illustration that I'm doing today, I was really inspired by the way that my acrylic wash sat on top of the Yupo paper and gave it almost like a simultaneous contrast. Kind of hurt my eyes a little bit to look at in a good way, if that makes sense. I went in later and covered the acrylic wash in this illustration with fluorescent inks, but I wanted to play with that illusion of light the way that the acrylic wash seemed to glow off of the paper and give this person like some kind of outfit with a source of light inside of the outfit. I also played with texture a bit at the bottom, going in and adding tons of detail with the dip pen. which I thoroughly enjoyed doing. One of the things that I was absolutely not expecting was the way that materials dry on this paper. They dry with a very dark outline around the border of the wet area. And it's interesting to see if something dries slowly over time, you see the little incremental lines of where the wet spot was before it dried. It's very strange and very unique. I struggled quite a bit on the Inkwash Painting part of this process because of the way that Yupo paper dries with that like outline around the wet area. I was fully not expecting the face to have so much texture, and as somebody who wants to paint really smooth faces, I struggled with that immensely. In the end though, I think I got it to work a way that I was happy with. And in fact, at one point I messed up the hairline, and I did have to use that ability to scrub the paint or the ink off of the Yupo paper. If this had been regular pulp, like plant fiber paper, that would have been absolutely impossible. Ink is such a severely staining medium that, like, if ink blinks in the wrong direction, the paper will stain. So to have a medium where you can wipe off the ink if you mess up is astounding to me. And that combined with the fact that the inks will retain their full brightness as they dry, I think I've just fallen in love with this paper. As much as I've struggled with it, I think this might be my new favorite ink medium. I picked this up on a whim because it was on clearance on my local art store, and I'm actually really happy with it. As far as impulse purchases go, this was a pretty good one. If you recall back to when I was doing Inktober last year, I was actually struggling quite a bit with the way that colors desaturated on the paper. When the ink dried, it would get a lot more dull and desaturated. And since I was doing cyberpunk illustrations, I really wanted that bold, bright saturation, the full chroma of the ink. And one of the things that Yupo paper boasts is that materials will retain their full brightness and their full saturation when they're used on this paper. So I was really excited about that in terms of inks because of the way that I struggled with ink on paper. And honestly, I think it lives up to that expectation completely. I don't know if I have enough Yupo paper to do a full Inktober, but I might try to snag some more and do a whole Yupo Inktober extravaganza because I struggled so much with paper and I want to redeem myself. I want to be good at inks, but I'm so bad at them. I think the moral of the story is, over the past couple of months on this channel, I've been using pretty much everything but regular watercolor paper, and I can't use regular paper anymore. It's not interesting enough. I'm bored. I say that in jest, but I'm not sure if I'm actually joking. By the way, this piece is available now on my online shop, along with prints, stickers, apparel, and much more. Get a 15% off coupon in the link in the description. If you found this video interesting, please leave it a like for me, and make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any videos in the future. I know a lot of artists will do abstract alcohol ink wash art on this, and that's interesting. That's not something I've ever experimented with, and I tend to like more figurative art rather than abstract art. But that'd be a really cool background as an art piece. Like do the ink wash and then draw on top of it. Let me know if you have any more ideas in the comments. In this video here, I go through the differences you can find between painting with ink versus painting with watercolor. So if that's something that you want to learn about, check it out over here. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.